Welcome to UFC Fight Night 109, also known as UFC Fight Night Sweden 2017, also known as UFC Fight Night Gustafsson versus Teixeira. It's going to take place the 28th of May at the Ericsson Global Arena in Stockholm, Sweden. It was rumored to be taking place in Denmark, which would have been the UFC debut in Denmark. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. But it's always good to have a card in Sweden headlined by Gus. The Swedish fans are really great, and I think this card is going to deliver for them. There's a few bum fights on it, but we'll get to them in time. And right now, I just want to give a shout out to the UFC art department. I know we complain about the lack of creativity, but I thought this poster was really good. The first time I saw it, I just kind of glanced at it and I thought it's just a poster of Gustafsson. Closer inspection, it's a mashup of Gustafsson and Teixeira that I think is really well done. The complaints that it's too much Teixeira and not enough Gustafsson are ridiculous in my opinion. But yeah, I'd like to see more creativity going into the posters. I think the fans deserve it rather than just two fighter cutouts put on a black background. They need to put more effort into it. So let's get to the fights. So the first fight of the night is Darren Till versus Jason Ayari. Ayari is riding a 7-fight win streak into his match, and he has a good all-round game for a 24-year-old. Darren Till, the Englishman come Brazilian, also 24, also a very good all-round game. Till hasn't actually lost. The last fight he had was his first draw. This was a majority draw against highly rated Nicholas Dalby. That was way back in 2015. So I'm going to look for Till to have really improved in the year and a half off. And I think that before the Dalby fight, a lot of people were really high on Till. I think you're going to see a lot of people jumping back on the bandwagon. Till has 9 wins via TKO. And Ayari has 8 by submission. I actually think this one's going to take place on the ground a lot more than standing up. Ayari trains with Peter Sabota, who was also fighting on this card. Very accomplished grappler. I'm really looking forward to see this. I think these are two guys who are going to be around the division quite a long time. They're two good fighters. It's going to be an exciting fight. I think it could really go either way, but I'm going to lean on fellow Englishman Till. I think he's got more ways to win this. I think he could win by TKO, where I don't see Ayari having the power to do that. But I'm going to actually pick Till via submission. Next fight sees Abdul Razak Al Hassan take on Omari Akhmedov. Abdul Razak Al Hassan has won all his 7 fights in the first round via TKO. His complete fight time for 7 fights is actually 6.5 minutes. That's very, very impressive. On the other hand, actually the more experienced Akhmedov has 11 first round stoppages too. So this could be a quick fight. However, I believe Omari has the experience to handle Al Hassan's power. I suspect he'll take him down, try and grind this out a little bit. And I think that Wolverine is going to pick up the decision victory here. As I mentioned before, Peter Sabota is fighting on this card, and he's fighting another UFC veteran in Ben Saunders. Both of these guys are on their second runs in the UFC, and actually they're both doing a lot better second time round. They're both very well skilled all around, I think. Actually, far superior on the ground than they are standing, but they're good all-rounders. The Killaby, Ben Saunders, is a high-level BJJ black belt under Ricardo Liborio. And Sabota has trained with people like Dean Lister. He has 10 competitive submissions, 6 of those coming by rear naked choke. I think both guys have looked really good recently, and I think they're going to cancel each other out on the ground. Killaby could win by TKO standing, but I don't think that's going to happen. and I do think that because it's going to be mainly contested on the ground, this could go either way. But because I give the standing advantage to Killaby, I'm going to pick him for a win via decision. Next up is a battle of two names I'm sure I'm going to get wrong. Nico Misaki against Bojan Velikovic. Misaki is the hometown guy. He trains at All Stars with Gustafsson, and this is going to be his third fight in a row in Sweden. He fought in 2014, 2015, and again in 2017. That's really weird to me, and it's a bit of a red flag, let's say. Velikovic has fought 7 times since Misaki last fought. He's got 5 wins, 1 majority draw, and 1 split decision loss. I think this could go to a decision. And while I would have given Bojan the edge anyway, I think the long layoff just creates too many questions about Misaki. And that makes me really confident that this is going to be a win for Bojan Velikovic. Then we have Marcin Held against Damir Hadzovic. This is an interesting one. Held is a BJJ black belt and has had a horrible start to his UFC career, losing to Diego Sanchez and a split decision to Joe Lozan. I love Joe Lozan, but I think that was a questionable split decision. And if I'm correct, I think even Lozan said that Held should have been the victor in that fight. Now he takes on Hadzovic, who was KO'd by Tasimov in his UFC debut. Both guys have something to prove. Damir is more likely to win via TKO. He's never been submitted, while Held, more likely to win via submission, has never been KO'd. So this one could go the distance, but I think Held's ground game is actually far superior, and if he manages to get it down there, I think he's going to pick up the submission by the UFC. I actually rate Marcin Held very highly. I think this could be the start of a title run. He really is that good. At 25, he's still got a lot of time. He's got a lot of experience for that age. I do feel quite strongly he needs to improve the striking and stand-up if he wants to become the champion. But, he could be a future title contender. Chris Camozzi takes on Trevor Smith. I'm just not excited about this one at all. I'm sorry. Camozzi at 30 years old, 24 and 12. For some reason, he feels a lot older to me. Trevor Smith, 36, 14 and 7. It's not that Camozzi doesn't deserve his place here. I certainly feel that if you step down into a B League, a Bellator, World Series of Fighting, maybe a 1FC, something like that, I think he could probably be their champion. But at the UFC, I'm not sure that he's got what it takes in that real elite level MMA competitors. And Smith, he's been around since transitioning from Strikeforce, but he's never won more than 2 in a row since 2011. He is coming off a loss, so going by those statistics, he should probably win this one. I think this one's going to drag out all 3 rounds. And I'm going to pick Camozzi by decision. Both of these guys are good technical MMA fighters. If you wanted to learn something about the game, I'm sure they could show you a lot. But neither one of these really excites me and thinks that they're going to be challenging the elite guys anytime soon. Pedro Munoz against Damian Webster Stasiak is what I'm naming the Battle of the Submissions. Munoz is 13-2 with 8 submission victories. Stasiak 10-3 with 7 submission victories. Stasiak surprised me by beating Davy Grant. And I think it's going to be an interesting fight. I think Munoz has a much better resume. He's fought better guys. The loss against a talented Jimmy Rivera was quite disputable. He is on a 2-fight win streak, both by guillotine, and I expect him to pick up another submission victory here. I do think it's going to be a good fight, so I hope the crowd like the ground game, because it looks like we're going to get quite a few ground games in UFC Sweden 2017. So that's Munoz by submission. Then we move on to what is my fight of the night, or prediction for fight of the night. Marbek Taisumov against Joaquim Silva. Taisumov is 25-5. Silva is 9-0. Both guys are 28 years old. The Tiger Muay Thai fighter is riding a 4-fight win streak, all by TKO. And if we go back to his last loss against Mikel Perazes in 2014, we can see how Neto BJJ might win this one. Riding in a 9-fight pro fight win streak, the BJJ black belt has 5 TKOs and 3 submissions. And really the route to victory, in my opinion, is he has to take Taisumov down, control him on the ground. If Silva can do that, I've not seen Taisumov really struggle too badly on the ground. He has a problem being held there. He does usually manage to get back up, but I think it could be a matter of Silva gaining enough control in rounds that are fairly even on the feet, that he picks up the victory by decision. I'm even going to go that this is going to go down to a split decision. I'm super psyched for this. I think it's going to be fight of the night. 2 great competitors, and I think it's going to be a great fight. And we move from possible fight of the night to the stinker of the night. Damian Grabovski against Christian Colombo. Both guys are 37. Neither are super impressive. I think, we're looking at the weakness in the heavyweight division. Grabovski is 0-2 in the UFC, and Colombo has a draw and a loss. This is really a case of Colombo's TKO power versus Grabovski's submissions. What can I really say? I don't think Colombo is going to knock out Grabovski. I don't know which way we're going to go with this one, but I think Grabovski gets it by submission. But if you need to visit the bathroom, this is certainly the fight to do it. Then we move on to the Battle of the Bangers. Jack Hermansson, local or, Swedish guy, fighting against Alex Nicholson. Hermansson is 14-3, Nicholson is 7-3. Having said that, though, I do feel Nicholson has fought the higher caliber of guys. He's lost to Sam Alvey, but Sam Alvey usually knocks people out, puts them to sleep. And he beat pretty good Jackson Wink grinder Devin Clark. He did lose his debut to highly respected Misha Surkanov, who will also fight later on in the card. One of the things that really upsets me is, some fans make fun of Nicholson and Platinum Mike Perry for coming out of the UFC Winter Springs gym. But you've got to say that they're succeeding despite that. Now, like I said, this is a battle of the bangers. 8 TKOs for Hermansson against 6 for Nicholson. I just feel that Nicholson has more about his game. I don't think we're going to see another TKO in this fight. I think Hermansson is a fairly straightforward fighter. He's a good fighter. He's very good on the feet, but I think he's fairly straightforward. And I think if Nicholson comes with a good game plan, he's going to have enough to win this fight decision. Emil Weber Meek against Nordin Talib. This is great matchmaking, I feel. I like both of these guys. And I think they're both quite exciting. Meek could win this by a TKO early, but I feel Talib is a more technical, all-round fighter. If he comes with a good game plan, and I suspect he will do, he's coming out of TriStar with Faraz Zahabi. He should be able to take this into the second and third round and score a decision victory. I think these are two good guys. I've just not seen enough of Meek to convince me that he is technically better than Talib. Early TKO, completely possible. But, another interesting fight. We'll see how it goes. Now, co-main event of the evening. Two huge prospects at light heavyweight division. Misha Cirkunov, who initially left the UFC and then re-signed against Volkan Ozdemir, who had a great debut against OSP. Cirkunov, I feel, is one of the most hyped guys in the UFC at the moment. But I feel very highly about Ozdemir. I think he's got great takedown defense. And I'm not sure that even with his high-level takedown defense, he'll be able to stuff Cirkunov enough. But I think the striking advantage is clearly Ozdemir's. His only loss is to a neck crank, and Cirkunov won his second UFC fight against Alex Nicholson via neck crank. So, we know he's got that in his bag. Cirkunov has never been KO'd, so there is a question mark. Can Ozdemir do that? I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna pick Ozdemir by TKO. I'm super excited for this fight, though. I wouldn't be upset either way that it's gonna go. Cirkunov could definitely take this down and win by submission, but I think it's a really good match, and I think whoever wins this should get a match against whoever wins the main event. That's why I think this is good matchmaking. And that takes us to the main event. Alexander Gustafsson against Glover Teixeira. I was really surprised to find out that Gustafsson's only 30. And Teixeira at 37 is starting to wear that age. This should have happened back at Fight Night 69 in Berlin, but Gustafsson had to pull out because of back injury. I think that both guys are good. Teixeira showed in his last fight against Cannonier his ground skills. Both guys are good strikers. But I think the deciding factor here is going to be Bellator champion Phil Davis. Both guys have lost to John Bones Jones, Anthony Johnson, and Phil Davis. But after the Phil Davis fight, Gustafsson trained with him and learned a lot of very good defensive wrestling. And that is what I think is going to have a big impact here, because in the last fight, Glover looked very nervous about standing banging with a guy who is good at standing up. Obviously that AJ knockout probably still in his mind, and I don't think he's going to want to strike with Gustafsson. But I also don't think he's going to have the ability to take him down after Phil Davis has taught Gustafsson how to wrestle. Mr. Wonderful, obviously a fantastic wrestler. Whatever you want to say about his all-round game. And I think if he's passed on some of that knowledge to Gustafsson, I think the Mauler has the ability to keep this standing and take advantage on the feet. So I think that's going to be Gustafsson to win. I think it's going to be a great night of fights. There's going to be a lot of people moving forward in that light heavyweight division. Let's just hope it works out like that.